Hello, and welcome to the Angus and Pete Show. Views and opinions are strictly those of the presenters and their guests and should not be taken as advice. Goodness knows, we're not qualified to advise you about anything. Side effects may include mild amusement and occasional enlightenment with feelings of embarrassment, apathy, disappointment, and pity.
Welcome to Series 2, Episode 5. I'm Angus Pacey.
And I'm Pete Brown, and we are the Angus and Pete Show.
The place where you can listen to two guys chatting about this riveting world of customer engagement.
That's customer engagement, otherwise known as call centre, contact centre, customer service, customer experience, CX, or whatever else you're calling it this week.
If you want to find out more about us, then just check us out on LinkedIn. Pete, what's in the post bag this week?
Well, we have two messages about Episode 3.
Okay, that's interesting.
Do you remember Episode 3 when we were talking about the customer experience disconnect?
Nate's horrific experience.
Yeah, well, that horrific experience is the subject of these messages. One from Shelley in Toronto and another from a chap called Kev in Newcastle. And they both said that we gave the Colorado Department of Motor Vehicles an unreasonably hard time.
Okay, that's a bit...
Well, they said in their different ways that we obviously have no idea how hard it is to operate a large contact centre in the public sector with the significant budget and resource challenges that go with it, and that we should cut Electra Bustle some slack. Well, that may be so, but it's no excuse for not using the stuff that you've already bought, is it? That's a waste of money. In order to demonstrate the objectivity and fair-handedness of the show, we invite Electra Bustle or anyone else from the Colorado Department of Motor Vehicles to come on and give their side of the story. We'll play nicely, we'll give them a fair hearing, but there's an open invitation. The Colorado DMV, come on and tell us your side of the story. Angus.
Today, we're lifting the covers on one of the most critical, quite often unseen roles in technology, the product manager, a topic very close to my heart for those that are aware of what my background is.
That's right. We recently sat down with our latest CX insider, a chap called Rich Ablett, and he's a product manager at Gamma Telecom. And he gave us a fascinating look at the pressures, the challenges, the excitement of his role.
Without much ado, let's get on and listen to what he had to say.
CX Insider, your inside track.
So, Rich, welcome to the show. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Thanks, Pete and Angus. So I'm Rich Ablett. I'm a commercial and strategy product manager in Gamma Telecom. I've worked in Virgin Media O2 and BT. I've worked in UCAS and CCAS for about 11 years.
UCAS and CCAS?
Those technical terms that we love to use in telecoms, right? I started as an apprentice going into telecoms. So I came into this industry knowing nothing and figuring out along the way. And I did a degree, which is completely out of date now. It's all real world experience now. It's all learning on the job.
So when did you start your apprenticeship? What year did you actually?
I was an old apprentice. I started when I was 24. I kind of decided my life was going the wrong way, so I would go and get some qualifications. So I went to university as part of my apprenticeship. It was 2007 because a year later the financial crash happened, and I was worried about my job.
The financial crash, was that a result of you buggering about with technology, or was it someone else's fault?
It was, yeah. I went and pulled all those wires out.
You went from kind of technical and then ended up in strategy, product management, commercial. What made you do the switch from being a technician to jumping into the world of product management? Because that is very different.
So I'm quite unique that I like both things. I like to tinker and break things apart and work out how it works and what you can do with it. And that's great. But I'm also quite good at figuring out how to get things done and what people need. So I quite like the psychology of stuff. And with product management, I always say that people fall into product management and they don't go to the careers office going, I want to be a product manager. It's something that you look at and you go, well, I've just built this thing and that person made a decision. They made all the wrong decisions. They don't know what they're talking about. So I'll go and do that job and find out how decisions are made and how businesses come to conclusions. I like the fact that with my role, what you're doing is you're kind of understanding, working with vendors and technology partners and figuring out where the path is going and what people are thinking and what people are doing, and then translating that into a need or a want or a desire, and then figuring out how to turn that into a business outcome or a business solution.
Just the question that I've been asked loads of times, but it's one that I love asking product managers as well. What's more important, the technology or the process?
The process. Most of my job is not product. It's figuring out, does the business have what it needs to take that product to market? It breaks into three areas in my mind: people, systems, and process. Because you can have the best product, but can I have someone talk about it, sell it, and support it? Can I have a way of them getting it, using it, and configuring it? And can I charge them for it at the end of it? That's where a lot of product development fits around.
In a nutshell, why does your employer pay you? What do they pay you to do? What's your business value as a product manager?
I once heard the term when I went on a product management course, the golden dustbin. A product manager is someone who is advocating and defending and arguing and building the justification and explaining it to other people, explaining why it's important. So a lot of my role is understanding the what and the why. What is it, the thing that we need to do, and why do we need to do it? Not necessarily how do we do it or when do we do it, but if we're going to invest this money, why should we? Why should someone in the business or the customer or a partner listen to us about this? This is the greatest next thing that we need to do. So a lot of it is some stakeholder management, talking to internal and external people about where things are going wrong, what people are needing, and advocating people's wants and desires and needs and trying to bring that to life. And then figuring out what's the plan to go and do that and when we should do that.
And who are the stakeholders? So it sounds like you talk to a lot of different types of people all the time.
Everyone: sales, pre-sales, partners, billing teams, engineering teams, operational teams, product teams, marketing teams, field marketing. I find the best way to know what to do and what decision to make is to get a variety of different opinions and experiences from different people across the industry. And I spend a lot of time reading tea leaves and going to events and talking to people and asking people's opinions and finding out what I don't know and trying to join pieces of information together to help form that strategy.
It sounds like you spend more time working on what the problem is you're trying to solve, trying to convince people that, A, you have a problem and that we can solve it, than looking at specific features of products.
Before you do features, you're looking at, is it financially viable? Features are important, and features are what makes up the product. But I get very frustrated when I see people want a feature matrix. I want to compare two products side by side. I think that's a very, very dangerous game that we're kind of playing, where you put Microsoft, Zoom, and WebEx. You could put crosses and ticks in all of them. And then at the end of it, you go, well, they all look the same. And that, in reality, that's not how people experience those products.
What do you end up making the decision based on?
The product with the right value. Effectively, you could have a Rolls Royce with the best product in the market, but if people can't afford to pay it, then they won't buy it.
Right.
You're always trying to build the best product based on the market needs, the feedback you're getting from customers and partners and sales, and you're trying to judge what will sell effectively.
Right.
And that might mean that you have to take a product and build it into 4 different things, but the underlying stuff stays the same. You are looking at propositions. It's really experience. It's a bit about gut feel. It's a bit about backing it up with evidence. But essentially, a lot of the drivers is feedback. If your customer's telling you that they need this thing, they want this thing, part of the trick is understanding what that actually means, and is it real, and does it go far enough?
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out how you then answer that. And I think the trick today is there is no one answer for every single problem statement. And I think that's one of the complexities in today's world. You used to buy a box, stick a box in a cupboard, let it collect dust for 10 years and then start maintenance on it. Now with the cloud of clouds, I call it, you're looking at, okay, so we sell this, they buy that from somewhere else, we join those things together, there's a gap there, how do we fill that? And you're trying to pull together multiple solutions now into one easy to understand, easy to consume, and easy to build product. That's
right.
Quite a challenge.
How good are vendors at giving you what you need?
Terrible, to be honest, yeah. I have to understand every phone model, every feature, whether we're talking about a meetings, a messaging, a calling thing, a CX thing, 4 or 5 integrations, all of the apps, My challenge is that these vendors, they have one specific product manager that might only look at one specific make or model, and they're only looking at it from their perspective, whereas I have to look at it from a higher purpose. One vendor is better than the other vendor, and then they catch up, and then they're behind, and that's why you can't do features, right? You're making your judgment based on, right, over the next 5 years, who's going to be the best partner, who's going to get us to our position.
So you've worked across multiple different service providers. If you look at the industry as it is now, it is accelerating. What's coming out and how fast it's coming out is just going exponential. How do you square that with what you've just described, which is a very complex thought process? Because my experience with being a product manager in service providers, they're not the fastest organizations to think about things. So how do you deal with it?
I disagree with that. I guess product managers are really quick at making decisions. It's the execution that's always the long part of the pole. There needs to be a mindset shift. Gone are the days where you can take a product, build it, understand it inside out, and take it to market and then stick it on the shelf for 5 years and it stays the same. If you look at the market today, these products are changing twice a week, and you have to pick your battles about what you can focus on. Part of that is focusing on the things that you can actually sell and deliver to market. But I remember, you used to go on like a 4-week course, and you used to have a manual, and you used to have a guide, and you used to have experts. When I was an apprentice, part of working for BT was you had access to telecoms professionals that have worked in the industry in terms of designing and building and supporting it and that type of stuff. Whereas that's a bit of a problem in the industry now. There isn't experts across everything, and that's massively impacting how you document stuff and then how you give knowledge to people. If you're bringing out 50 features a month, how are you even meant to absorb that information and digest that and then understand it and then understand how to use it and then use it yourself? So there is a knowledge velocity that people do struggle with. Part of choosing a vendor is choosing the one that keeps you informed the most, because people don't know what they necessarily want, or they don't necessarily know how they can solve those problems, because there's so much knowledge out there. Part of the trick is helping to educate. And you can't just educate on just a feature. You've got to educate on how people can use this thing.
There is a knowledge deficit in the market when it comes to the selling side of the equation and the buying side around the basics of articulating a requirement and then proposing a solution to that requirement. There's a knowledge deficit around that. And there aren't enough experts. And those people that are calling themselves experts in many cases aren't worthy of the badge. Who is responsible for filling that knowledge gap?
My personal opinion is the people in the industry. I'm a big believer that if you work in an industry, you should be self-educating. I'm a lifetime learner type person. Part of what I am always trying to do is understand things. So always constantly reading, watching, attending events, keeping myself up to date, because no one's going to come and plug a USB stick in my head and give me that knowledge.
Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe Elon Musk might be able to help me with that, but I also think it's the vendor, right? They've got the people thinking about this stuff, going, we're going to do this thing, we're going to build it this way, we've tested it this way, this is how it works. I think one of the big challenges around knowledge is making it real for people, because a lot of products nowadays are a bit of a Swiss Army knife. You need ideas, you need experience, you need to have been demoed, you need to see how other people have done it, you need to see how it relates to your kind of specific needs. We've built this Swiss Army knife to do these things, and we've used that to build this use case, and this is how we built it. Now take that code or take that scenario and reuse it. And
yeah,
it really winds me up when you kind of go to events and they show you something and you go, well, how do I make that work? Oh, you need this and you need that and you need that. And you're like, well, it was really simple on a slide deck. And now I've got to go and invest and understand 4 different technologies and get a bit of hosting stuff and a bit of network stuff. I just wanted to make your thing work in 5 minutes.
Because what you're describing is a shift in emphasis from the old world of deploy, build something, deploy it, get it configured, and then walk away and then charge maintenance. Now the emphasis has moved to adoption. How do I use it? How do I get the benefit of it? You get a brand new Swiss Army knife, comes out the box. It's got 16 gadgets on it, but you can't find the button to open it and use the first one.
Yeah.
Do you think the vendors in general have clocked that adoption is so important.
Yeah, but more from a revenue protection point of view. I think a lot of it is about the initial sell and the renewal. I think they are starting to figure out how they can help. What's the right methodology to be able to get that information to people to create adoption? People that use the products are the ones that are making the decisions about buying and renewing. You can't have, a contact center with 5,000 people all going, we absolutely hate this thing, and someone goes, yeah, let me renew that. That's not going to happen, is it?
How does AI figure? You've done a lot of research. Tell us about AI.
I think people are still trying to figure out what it means, what it's going to do for them, and I think people are still quite scared of it. In my role, it won't replace my role because AI can't go and build relationships with vendors, but it does help me simplify some stuff. Where I have a problem is AI is consuming infrastructure and services from multiple vendors because no one's able to provide all of the capability of AI. So they're outsourcing it to specialists, whether it's Google or AWS or Azure or ChatGPT or someone else. A bit of a problem in terms of charging models. I've looked across multiple CX suppliers and vendors. I've looked at different AI products and AI models. And one of the common things I'm seeing is pass-through charging. It's a bit like the old telephony and mobile days. No one knew how to charge for minutes, so they charge you per minute. And then we went to bundle deal, and then we went to cheaper rates, and then we went to unlimited and all you can eat. Because people then started to get experience and data points and risk profiles and start to bundle stuff together. Whereas AI, people are very risk adverse. No one knows how much this is going to cost them. No one really knows how much to bundle stuff. So everyone's just going, I buy it from X, I had 10, 20 points of margin, I just pass that through, and then they just pay for what they consume. The problem I have with AI is, how much is it going to cost me? Pete and Angus, you're really good at selling me stuff, right? I've listened to you for many years talk at me for hours with lots of colourful, pretty slides. The challenge is, once I've figured out what I want the outcome to be, I don't necessarily know how to do it. All I know is I need to meet this business need. No one is really good at articulating what are the building blocks of that, how much those building blocks are going to cost me, and how I would calculate that. So I build something and it consumes something and I get a bill at the end of the month. I don't know the next month if that's going to be the same amount, higher, lower. I'm not in control of that spend. I could have an outage and everyone rings me on that day because they're unhappy. Does that mean that my cost base goes through the roof? What about if someone designs a workflow that they hadn't really thought about? It's just consuming AI. We used to have scripted IVRs where, it was controlled. You asked it specific things in a specific order and was, failure and success scenarios. Now you can ask AI a billion questions, and every time you ask it questions, it's doing two API calls, and those API calls are now charging. So how much of those AI interactions are controllable now? I think is quite difficult to know.
So we're in an immature market.
Yes.
However, it is quite a murky supply chain, isn't it, around AI? With costs aren't transparent, the supply chain isn't transparent. Is that causing you problems?
Yeah, it's risk. It's not necessarily about cost, because cost is cost and you can manage that. For me, it's about risk. If I go back to my kind of telephone type example, if a call costs 0.004p, how many of those 0.004p's are you going to have to worry about before you start to have a cash flow issue? And then you can kind of try and bundle that, 1,000 minutes, 10,000 minutes, unlimited. On average, each person makes 60 minutes calls a month. You can kind of control that risk. When you get into AI, one of the challenges now is cost, because the thing that you want is now £40, £100. And I want to be able to create the right packaging and the right cost model and the right pricing. But part of the challenge is managing the risk from that supplier, because you're not really in control of A, the consumption, and B, the charges you're getting from that supplier.
Yeah.
It's lazy product management, in my opinion. It's every product manager across that supply chain has gone, oh, risky, I just had margin on top.
Right.
But actually what really needs to happen is the low level suppliers of those solutions, the Googles and the ChatGPTs, need to figure out a cost model that people can consume in a controlled way.
How do you then take that back into the organization as a product manager and build a business case that can withstand the scrutiny of the CFO and get them to sign it off?
Quite hard. Part of it is education. This is how we've always done it. This is how we've always sold and built these products. This is a new market and a new world. So there is a bit of explaining that. There is also a bit about accepting it. We can only work within the boundaries of what we've got. So we have to figure out how we manage that risk, what we can do, what we can't do. Part of it is also about putting it into the market and seeing. Because as soon as you put it in the market, you very quickly get to see either what you sell, what you don't sell, and what the feedback is. Mm. Whereas it's very difficult to get that at the beginning of making that decision. You know, no one in the industry is sharing anything that anyone can use for businesses to make decisions around product. I speak to one of my strategic vendors quite regularly about, okay, tell me the ratio of one thing to another. Tell me what's selling well, what's not selling well. They don't share that. And also, there are some things that you just can't calculate. You can use market research, you can use analysis, you can look at vendors to see what they're putting into their marketing information or their business reports. But there are some things you just can't calculate, to be perfectly blunt.
Given that situation, how do you articulate it? Have you come up with a silver bullet? This is the best way to describe something that is totally indescribable?
You talk about things that people understand, so you talk about agents. In any contact center conversation, there is still going to be a human element. And it's the one thing everyone understands. I have so many warm bodies and I need so many licenses, and that makes up a big proportion of the cost. And that's how you judge whether you're going to be profitable. Really, the other stuff is just kind of a variable add-on thing. Because AI isn't the core product. It is for specialist vendors, one-trick ponies that only do one thing, and that's the only thing you buy from them. But in a contact center, you're not just selling AI. You're not just going in and walking in and saying, no worries, get rid of all your people, and I'll stick an AI thing in there, and it will do all of the jobs for you. If we were having that conversation, I would be really, really struggling. But today, everyone understands what an agent is. Everyone understands what a supervisor is. Everyone understands what a wallboard is. Everyone understands what a headset is from a physical infrastructure point of view. So you focus on those things. The rest of it is a very, very difficult thing that you can't put in a business case all the time.
If you look at AI as a point business case, it's very, very difficult to get a handle on it. Therefore, it needs to be a horizontal enabling layer rather than a vertical application.
Yeah, and one of the things I learned the hard way through kind of looking at our business cases is contact centers are coin operated. Everything that goes into it, everything that it processes, and everything that comes out of it, you're chucking coins in the machine. That's the model of contact centers. So if you're in healthcare, you wouldn't want to get to the middle of the month and go, I run out of coins, let's stop taking calls. Or AI's run out, so can we go and raise a purchase order to put some more coins in it? Or can we go and make a decision? That's not really how it works. It's tricky. It's not a science.
So that's why, Rich, you get the movie star salary.
Right.
The problem with this conversation is everyone expects everything to look exactly the same. Every single deployment is going to be different. Every single need is going to be different. So you can't say, right, if I have 10 agents, I'm going to have one AI thing, and that AI thing is going to do 50 transactions a second and take 10 calls, because you could be, especially in my area, you could be anything from a doctor's surgery, anything up to a retail store. And they are going to be completely different use cases and demographics. And part of the challenge is, not everything's the same. So you can't put everything on the same plane and go, that's a ratio of X to Y. That's a calculation of that to that. It's very, very difficult to try and do that.
So you live in a really complex world. Most people will listen to this and go, bloody hell, this is not a job that sounds like fun.
You have to learn Excel quickly.
What are the most favorite things about your job?
I get to get involved in technology and conversations without getting too deep. I like that. I like the variety. So I get to have lots of different conversations. It could be a contract negotiation. It could be a pricing conversation. It could be understanding a problem. It could be defining a requirement. It could be putting a plan. It could be walking in, house is on fire. It could be educating and training people. I get to work across lots of different skill sets. I'm not just doing a mundane kind of day-to-day. I get to work with lots of different people. So I'm quite privileged in the fact that I get to get access to lots of different people. One, because I'm quite moany and quite demanding, but two, naturally, because of the type of job, everyone wants to try and sell me something. So I get access to their salespeople, their technical people, their product people, so I can kick the tires. Because I'm not an expert in everything. I need to go and speak to those experts. And also it's changing. When I was an apprentice, I was slightly worried that, the good old days of where everyone else made loads of money on shares and final salary pensions, I wasn't going to get that. But for me, my kind of generation, this is like a regeneration of the industry. It is evolving and it is changing, and there are new big opportunities, which I find quite exciting.
We've reached that point where we ask you for your 3 pearls of wisdom, things that you wish the industry would be or do or not do, or what are they? Hit us up with your wise thoughts, Richard.
Stop making things so complicated. There's some really, really clever people out there who come up with really, really clever things, but it doesn't need to be this complicated. Part of the trick now is making things simple and easy, and if we don't continue to make things simple and easy, then we're gonna lose, because someone else is and will. It does frustrate me that I find sometimes in this industry that we overcomplicate stuff and we spend a lot of time talking about the feature or the technical side of things. And for me, it's just education. That's why we're talking about it. It's not because it's complicated or hard. It's because no one understands, and it's a journey that people have got to go on. I think the industry is making, I'm going to use the Swiss Army knife analogy again. There is so much focus on building capability, but not thinking about how people use the capability and how people use it in real life. And that is dangerous, because you're just building technology. What you're not doing is making technology real for people or consumable. And make it clear what I'm buying. I find it very fluffy. I say to some of my vendors sometimes, I'm a product manager and I'm not thick, but you can't even explain your product to me. So if you can't explain it to me and I can't understand it, how do you expect me to go and explain it to someone else? So make it clear what I'm trying to understand. Vendors are struggling to make everyone internally aware and keep up to date, and it is becoming very generalist. So yeah.
So thinking back to you as an apprentice, whenever that was, 2 questions. 1, are you glad that you did that apprenticeship and make an entry into this market? First thing, has it been good to you up to now? And 2, what does the future look like from now for Rich?
Doing an apprenticeship was the best thing. I took a 50% pay cut to go and do it, but it gave me full honours degree. I got real life experience, and I got access to an industry that was quite hard to get into at the time. It was harder to get into my BT apprenticeship than it was to get into Oxford University at the time. And through that, it gave me access to go and do routes that, I didn't start off with that. I thought I was going to be a, holes and holes type person. So for me, the apprenticeship was great. I would thoroughly recommend it. Also, for me, I wouldn't have done well going to university and books. I'm dyslexic, so reading and all that sort of stuff, I probably wasn't the best avenue. Actually having access to hands-on practical stuff was the best route for me, and all of the qualifications. And it did set me up for my career. Without that, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to work in some of those other companies. Mm-hmm. What's next for me? I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm at a point where I've done kind of every single role apart from sales. I don't like sales.
Oh,
I know
come
you guys
on,
work in sales.
That's the one thing you have to try it.
That's the hard bit. We've had this
I'm
conversation before. That's the tough bit. That's why people like you and Angus, product managers who sit behind desks in the rarefied air of your cozy little offices, talking to the board about nebulous projects. That's not real world selling, mate. That's where it's all at.
Yeah, I do selling. The problem is I give stuff away for free, and I don't want to sell my grandma. So I've got a conscience.
Are you saying salespeople don't have
No,
consciences?
no, just you two.
Oh, thanks for that.
I don't know. I've done every role, so it would be going up into like head of type roles.
Cool.
I joke that I've launched products in 3 service providers in the UK. I've just got one more to do. Then what I might do is go and work for the vendor and sort out from internal instead of external. They haven't invited me yet.
Having done that, Rich, and jumped from outside.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
Yeah.
the grass is not green, it's just a different shade of brown.
No, I've learned that moving around, the grass is not always greener. It's the same problems in every company, and everyone's just trying to muddle through.
So on that note, I just want to say thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for your candor. Thanks for your insights. It's been really interesting listening to you. Thanks for your time, Rich.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant discussion.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Cheers, Rich.
Cheers, Rich.
CX Insider, your inside track.
Well, Angus, Rich certainly gave us a comprehensive view of the challenges he faces and actually the challenges that are facing the industry, full stop. What did you think the key takeaways were from that discussion?
I think it was a really interesting discussion. It also went places I wasn't expecting, which quite often happens with our insiders.
They always do, don't they?
Yeah. The first one, and I absolutely agree with it, that process trumps technology. Rich argued that the business process is much more important than the technology itself. And I think companies must ensure that they have the people, systems and processes in place to sell, support and bill for the product or the offer that they're taking to market. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. You can have the best technology, but it's of very little use to the customers and your organization.
It's interesting, isn't it? They're the same words that come out of a buyer's mouth, but he's looking at it from a fairly specific position on the vendor side. And what it all leads to is, we said it in the first episode, we said adoption was going to be a theme for this series, and it is. He said the focus must be on adoption.
Yeah.
Emphasis needs to shift away from simply deploying products to ensuring that it's adopted and used. And vendors often miss that critical step. They're solely focused on the initial sale and the renewal and building capability without giving, I wouldn't say no thought, but sufficient thought to how people use the product in real life and what it takes to make it compelling.
The other thing that I thought was really interesting is that he highlighted our billing. Right now, AI charging models are a risk for end users and people in the supply chain. The current use of pass-through charging for AI consumption does create a maybe undefined, unacceptable financial risk for businesses. They need to really think about that. And this is really clear when costs are tied directly to usage and consumption. And I think this is not only for AI, actually. I think it's for a lot of technologies that are pure usage-based, when it's very easy to just spin up a server, and this comes back to bite you. But it makes it really difficult to build predictable business cases.
It's not easy to understand.
No.
It's not easy to manage, and therefore it's not easy to justify. Which leads us on to the next point. Rich made a plaintive cry, didn't he, to the vendors. Keep it simple. Stop overcomplicating things and focus on making products simple and easy for the customer to understand. He's a customer too, right? He said through gritted teeth, with tears in his eyes, that if a vendor can't clearly explain their complex product to him, a product manager with the brain the size of a planet, then how can they possibly expect him to explain it to someone else, whether that's the internal audience of people that are going to be signing off his business case or the external audience of customers who are actually going to bloody buy the thing?
And that's no easy ask either. With the speed technology is moving, I think that's a real challenge. So nobody said it's easy, but I think vendors have got to actually think about how do they make it simple, not only for people like him, but the end users. And then the elephant in the room is expertise. I think this is the one that there's a growing deficit in this. The speed the technology is changing and products are changing. There's a knowledge velocity problem, and there's a deficit of genuine experts across all these technologies. So I think we've talked about this previously, about we're going to have a generational knowledge gap. Now I think it's less of a risk now because of the new technology, so everybody's into them, but I think that fundamental basic knowledge is still going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Of what are the basics? So I think vendors and people have got to embrace self-learning and self-education, but also educate end users and people in sellers and buyers by articulating very real, clear examples and scenarios of where this technology can be used and deliver. I hate using the word use case, but for the propeller heads listening, I'll say use case. You rather use the word scenario. So, Peter, what do you think the final word was from Rich, if you had to really summarize it?
I like the fact that he really said that service providers and to a large degree vendors focus on building what he called that complicated Swiss Army knife. I really like that analogy. There's a whole focus on building a Swiss Army knife of capability and not enough focus on how people are actually going to open that knife up and use the tools that are in there. For vendors and service providers to succeed, he said the fundamental requirement is to move past technical features and focus instead on clarity, controlled, easy to understand pricing models, and make the product consumable and understandable for the user.
Yeah, it sounds like the greatest challenge today isn't about developing the actual technology. It's about making the technology real and safe for the market to use.
There you go. You nailed it.
So we'll be back next time with episode 6 in series 2. In the meantime, follow the Angus and Pete Show page on LinkedIn for news, notifications, and please message us directly to tell us what you want us to talk about, how we're doing, and just generally keep that post bag bulging.
The show is available on all your favourite podcast platforms, so listen, like, subscribe, share, help us to spread the good word and feed our gigantic egos.
Pete.
Yeah.
Before we go, it's Joke of the Week time.
It is. I've got one that makes me chuckle, actually.
Okay.
Ready? This guy is out with his mates and they head into a nightclub. And the bouncer looks at this chap and he says, sorry, you can't come in, you're not wearing a tie. And after a little bit of negotiating, it goes nowhere. So the guy walks up and down the street and he's looking for a tie to borrow or buy, but it's late at night and there's no shops open, there's not many people around. No luck. So he's just thinking about getting a taxi home when he spots an old spark plug lying in the gutter. And it gives him a little bit of inspiration. So he takes one of his shoelaces out and he fashions, those Western style, I think they're called bolo ties.
Yeah.
You know that thing?
Yeah.
So he fashions one of those out of his shoelace and this spark plug and heads back to the nightclub, checks himself out in a shop window, looking good. Walks up to the door and again the bouncer stops him. And the guy says, what? He said, you wanted a tie? I've got a tie. So the bouncer rolls his eyes and says, okay, you can come in, but don't start anything. Cheers, Angus.
Cheers, Pete.
Thanks for tuning in to the Angus and Pete Show. Remember, it's based on the personal views and opinions of the hosts and their guests. If you're feeling aggrieved or litigious, take a chill pill. There's already enough stress in the world. Don't forget to follow our page on LinkedIn and subscribe on your favourite podcast platform for more episodes. We'll see you next time. Oh, and tell your friends.